morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever time zone you may be tuned in this today. I really appreciate you being here today. This week is actually a very, very special week. It is International Coaching Week, and I wanted to kick off this week with a very, very special guest, Denis Guay. Denis is the president of Allegiant Global Partners, and he's also the chief customer officer. Sorry about that. And and again, as for a sense of introduction, my name is Joyce, and I am a leadership executive coach for Rise Above Coaching. I am also the founder of Rise Above Coaching. And this morning we got Denis. It's so nice to have you on the air today, Denis. How are you doing?
Very good. Thanks for including me. I'm super excited to be here.
Oh, yeah, that is great. So just a little background about Denis. Denis, like I said, he's the president of Allegiant Global Partners. Denis he's been a lead underwriter in underwriting managing in one of the largest insurance companies, to include Cigna. That's where he began his career, at Cigna. He later moved on to Aetna as well. Denis has also been he is also known for his expert in benefits, and he is able to provide he's provided expertise in one of the most top dynamic global employers today. Denis is also a graduate professor at the University of Rhode Island. He's also a published author. So it is such a pleasure again, Denis, and I hope that we're going to spend a couple of time this morning and talking about what's going on in the world and how you're holding up as a leader at Allegiant Global Partners, how you're serving your clients, and how, of course, you are taking care of yourself as well as a leader. So thank you, Denis, and it's a pleasure again to have you here. The world has definitely changed due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are seeing more leaders out there and being able to sustain the companies, being able to sustain the people, the clients that they work with. And so I just wanted to come in and check in, and maybe you could give us a little background of, how things are going and how you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Joyce. So my name's Denis Guay. I'm so happy and excited to be here. And like Joyce said, or like you just said, I'm the president of Allegiant Global Partners, and we're finding in these days, that obviously people are very stressed and challenged, and so what we found is there's lots of questions, and as you answer questions, there's more questions, and I have questions, and clients have questions, and everyone has questions. And so you ask how it's been. I think it's been a series of Q&A constantly. And I think we welcome that, right? Because we all have Q&A in our own world right now, and that's just the kind of evolutionary process of where we're at. So it's been very busy, actually. And one thing I'll say is, for us, it's a little bit different than other consulting firms in that we only consult for NGOs, nonprofits, and higher eds. And one of the things I've noticed is, while COVID-19 is certainly wreaking havoc on all of our lives, one of the things that has become very clear is that the gaps where the private sector and the public sector is able to execute, the gaps are really being covered by the nonprofits of our world, right? And the NGOs.
Yeah.
It's been incredibly amazing to see, our clients, but then even our non-clients in the sector really just rise to the challenge and bring new things. So in terms of leadership, I think we're really experiencing a boom in leadership in that part of the sector.
Wow, yes, that is really phenomenal. So maybe if we were to look at this as a coach, I normally when I coach clients, I talk about this volatile, uncertain, complex, and greedy kind of environment that we work in. And I think right now it's actually playing out so much as we are going through this. So using this time, what are some of the lessons that you have learned as a leader going into this, and even trying to come out of this as we try to transition back to work?
So I would say the thing I've focused in on, and I've been, crisis in the professional sense of the word crisis is not new to me because of our focus in the NGO sector where we see and hear and manage really challenging things on the regular. And so I think one of the things as a leader and as a coach to my team and my clients is I always try to remember a couple of things. Number one, focus on facts and information, right? Don't get caught up in what you're hearing in terms of the rumors. Focus on facts and solutions. And then the other thing is just always keep calm, right? Always stay focused on the main objective for yourself, but also for your organization, because when you start to overreact or react quickly without thinking through things, that's when things are missed. That's when accidents happen. That's when mistakes kind of live and breathe, right? And so just everyone should, remember to take a pause, think about the information, focus on what's fact versus not, I'm going to say fiction, but maybe, hyped up information that maybe is making it seem, more complicated or different than what the actual information is. Stay focused on facts, but also, stay calm and focus on, what you need to do to get through whatever it is you're dealing with at the time.
Yes, I love the fact that you use the term pause because with so many things going on today, even as coaches, that is one of the most way to be present and to get yourself, kind of bring yourself back so that you could be able to lead and take action is sometimes just taking that step back to pause is so phenomenal. So I'm so glad that you said that. So, out of all this, what do you think from a self-awareness, what has shifted for you as a leader? And I know, Denis, just to maybe give a little background, you all have worked in the remote atmosphere for quite a while now. And, some organizations, are kind of forced into that, like, a turn of a switch. And so some of the things for you, I don't know if there's anything that has shifted from a self-awareness perspective.
Yeah, so I would say, the remote thing for sure, so our organization is kind of split, right? So half of our team is in a physical office normally, not now, of course. And then the other half is remote, and we travel an awful lot. And so we're used to kind of moving on the fly and being remote and, kind of living in that type of space. So in terms of that, this change, the remote piece of it hasn't been a huge change for us. But what I guess in terms of being self-aware, what has changed even for me, who I've been working from home for 10 plus years, is now my family's home with me every day, right? And so I have to be self-aware to take time outs and recognize that maybe I'm comfortable with being at home, but to be a personal, like maybe my wife isn't, right? Because my wife's a school teacher. She doesn't normally teach from home, or my kids, they don't go to school at home. And so I've been, personally speaking, I've had to be more self-aware of what those needs are, what those challenges are. And I can't, I can't necessarily, even though it's business as usual, quote unquote, for Allegiant, because of our ability to work remotely, it's really not business as usual for the rest of my house, and also for my team's family members and things like that. And so I've had to be more self-aware about my own kind of limits and boundaries in my personal life, but also my team, my clients. There is not a virtual meeting that goes by that we don't have a dog or a kid or something coming into the shop. And so just being it's not a big deal. We're all in this together. And so just being self-aware enough to know, again, don't sweat the small stuff. It's not a big deal to have your meeting interrupted or delayed 5 or 6 minutes because a kid joined and wants to wave to the camera, kind of thing. It's okay.
Yeah, I know. I can't keep my kids off the camera as well. They're always running down here. Every time I'm on a call, it's like they know, and they think it's pretty cool to be on camera. So that's actually really great. So, I know you are a professor too, and you teach graduate classes. If you were to place your professor hat on and teach people how to be resilient, what would you say? How would you describe that?
Well, I would say back to what I said earlier is just like focus on what you need to do and don't and try to be present in the things you're doing. So like we all know our brains are moving so fast these days with 1,000 things we're thinking about personally, professionally, what we hear in the news, what we're reading, things like that. I would say try to focus on small chunks of time for particularly for my students, and focus on the objective they have in front of them today, or this hour, or this class, or whatever it is. And I think once you do that, you can execute better because your brain is so easily distracted, and it's hard to be resilient and focused when your brain is moving so quickly and worrying about all of these other things, even if it's as simple as like, what are we having for dinner tonight? I haven't taken anything out because we're all cooking dinner at home. There's no takeout. I mean, people are still taking out, but you follow what I mean, right? There's just more home time, more responsibility. So your brain is moving really quickly. So I think the one thing I would say to my coworkers and my students, and really anyone, is just try to chunk it out into little bits of time and be present in those times.
Wow, yeah, that's actually really, really phenomenal. And if what are some of the actions? Are there any major actions that you have taken as a leader in your company or with your clients at this particular moment?
So one of the things that, so there's a couple things we did, for COVID-19 specifically, is like, I'm sure everyone's inbox is like mine, getting blasted with, here's a resource and here's that resource and this, it's just so overwhelming. And so we didn't want to do that. And so what we did was we created a resource site for our employees. Sorry, see, what did I say a moment ago about a child? So this could not be planned. It could not be planned any better. Sorry. So we've created a resource site where we actually tried to section out all of the information being fed from Cigna or Aetna or whoever in a box. So like you could just come to this one place and access information, because it is overwhelming. The other thing we did is we actually created a resource room for idea sharing. And like, we've had situations where maybe one NGO is taking a different approach to problem solving for COVID-19, and they want to bounce it off of others. So basically we've invited our 70 clients to join this room. It's basically a really large professional chat group where they're able to post different challenges that they're seeing and hearing and collaborate and share. And it actually, sometimes it's just helpful to just hear that someone else is experiencing the same thing. Like there's no action to be taken, but it's just good to see like, oh, okay, like they don't know either and neither do we. So those are some of the little things that we've done for our clients. And for our staff, we've tried to really be more present in our conversations. I've tried to schedule one-on-one touch points on a regular basis with each team member, and not just to talk about work, but also, hey, how's it going? If I know they have a kid, how is so-and-so doing with school? How is that going? And just really connect on a personal level with people, because I think that's what people need right now. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we've done, both professionally and personally, when we're trying to work through kind of the day-to-day noise.
Wow, that is really, really that is really phenomenal for that. And I think you are right. I think there's been a lot of information. You got the webinar calls, the Zoom calls all the time. So, and like you're right, every time you click on your email, there's something coming in. And I think it's really nice to have seen organizations who have figured that, again, what you're saying about pausing and being present and being able to put everything in one place. So that is really good. So as we're wrapping up, where do you think we go from here? What do you think is the next step from here?
Well, I think one of the, and sorry, see, again, I'm like the perfect example of what the reality of our world is right now, right? I have a kid, a dog, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Just stay tuned, I guess. I think, when I think about how this is changing us, I think it's going to be I think what we realized is the world has really changed a lot, even before COVID-19, right? Everything is so technological. We have video chats and people are on their phones and devices all the time. And that was kind of the new normal. And I think what we're seeing now is people are literally craving human interaction at a different level. So I think what's going to be really good out of all of this is I think we're going to recognize the value of human interaction, like real live interactions versus, being on our phones and things like that. And I think that that's what humanity needed, right? So I think I choose to always think of things in a positive way. And I think that if you think about some of the positives that will come from this is I think it's that. I think people will really hopefully come out of this appreciating each other's company more and enjoying collaboration, live collaboration in a different way. So that's what I'm hoping will come from this. And I certainly feel that way when I see, when I'm out walking in my neighborhood with my kids and I see other humans, and I just appreciate seeing them more than I did, 3 months ago when I was walking my dog, right? It's just a different feeling now.
Yeah. I think you're very right. And actually, it's a fresh breath of fresh air, like you just said. I see your daughter coming in the back and the dog. I think I think that is what humanity is all about. Giving everybody a little bit of grace and. We can see that because, as even when you're doing meetings, you're doing calls, we are in a different reality. And so just being able to feel comfortable enough to be present and not worry about all the other things that are going on is really a shift to where we are. And I love the time that we spent today. I really appreciate your insights today. And what I'm taking away from this today is that there are three things that you shared that are really, really key to me, which was the pause, taking the time to pause. And the most important thing that you could give any human being or anything, any meeting, any leader is being present, being fully present to what's going on inside the room. And then, as you mentioned at the end, is the collectiveness of again, being together and having that common purpose as a leader. And I think you touched on some really, really key points today. And it was, this was a great, I don't know what else is going to come up in the background on your end.
Me neither.
It was so good, Dennis. And I really appreciate, taking the time today to have this conversation with me. I know you guys are doing a phenomenal job at Allegiant Global Partners. As you mentioned, you work a lot with international NGOs who are not only dealing with what is going on domestically, but also dealing with the organizations of the projects that they serve around the world. And I could relate to that because I've been in the international space for a long time. So thank you again for taking the time this morning. It was a great conversation, and I really, really appreciate your leadership today.
Thank you so much, Joyce. I really enjoyed being part of the conversation, and I apologize for the kid and the dog, but I think it served as a good example of reality, right, that we're living in. But thank you for the time, and thank you for including me.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope to see you next time when all this is over. It will be a pleasure to have some coffee, see each other face to face. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joyce.